Japan's Kusanagi no Tsurugi. In Japanese history, the sword known as Kusanagi no Tsurugi has always held a special place in the hearts of both the people and the imperial family. This is one of the 3 sacred treasures collectively known as the imperial regalia. To the Japanese, Kusanagi no Tsurugi is not merely an ancient weapon. It is the very symbol of legitimacy and the power of the imperial court. Across hundreds of years, this sword has been inseparably linked to the most important national rituals, especially imperial successions and other pivotal state ceremonies. From the earliest times, this blade was known as Ameno Murakumo no Tsurugi, meaning heavenly sword of the gathering clouds. Later, after becoming entwined with the legend of a hero who cut through grass to escape danger, the Japanese began calling it the grass-cutting sword, Kusanagi no Tsurugi. The change in name did nothing to diminish the sword's spiritual value. In fact, it made the legend more relatable, drawing it closer to the people and deepening the nation's reverence for this symbol. According to Shinto tradition, the sword is always kept with utmost care, almost never seen by anyone except the highest members of the imperial family and select priests. This exclusivity has only added to its air of mystery. Throughout countless dynasties and the many upheavals of Japanese history, the protection and preservation of the sword has remained a top priority for the imperial household. Since the 12th century, Kusanagi no Tsurugi has not been shown in public. Later historical records only note the sword's presence in imperial ceremonies, but provide no detailed descriptions of its appearance or its true resting place. It is precisely this secrecy that has led to countless theories and questions. Some believe the sword was lost during great upheavals. Others are convinced it remains hidden away, safe in one of Japan's great shrines. Over time, no matter how many rumors or controversies have surrounded the fate of Kusanagi no Tsurugi, its place and meaning in Japanese culture have never changed. For the people, the sword stands not only for strength, courage, and faith in divine protection, but also as the enduring symbol of a nation's traditions. Whether it still exists as a physical object or survives only in stories passed down through generations, Kusanagi no Tsurugi continues to fascinate and inspire curiosity. According to Japanese mythology, the origins of Kusanagi no Tsurugi are bound to one of the most famous tales of the ancient gods. The deity Susanoo no Mikoto, known as the god of storms and the sea, was once banished from the heavens for his fiery temper and sent down to earth. Upon arriving in the land of Izumo, Susanoo encountered an elderly couple and their youngest daughter, who were weeping in despair. After hearing their story, Susanoo learned that this couple had once had 8 daughters, but every year, a monstrous 8-headed, 8-tailed dragon devoured one of them. Moved by their suffering, Susanoo resolved to help. He instructed the family to prepare 8 large barrels of sake, placing one at each entrance to their home. When the serpent Orochi appeared, each of its heads drank deeply until it fell into a stupor. Seizing the moment, Susanoo struck, cutting off each of the dragon's heads and then its tails. After a fierce battle, the monster was finally slain. While examining the beast's remains, Susanoo discovered a mysterious object lodged deep within the fourth tail. Upon opening it, he found a divine sword that shone with an otherworldly light. Recognizing the significance of this treasure, Susanoo presented it to his sister, the sun goddess Amaterasu. Giving the sword to Amaterasu was more than just an act of atonement. It also reinforced the sacred authority of Japan's imperial lineage. From that moment on, Kusanagi no Tsurugi became the ultimate symbol of power and legitimacy, a gift from the gods themselves to the royal family. Throughout Japanese imperial history, Kusanagi no Tsurugi has always held a place of utmost importance and reverence. For centuries, the Japanese have believed their emperors to be direct descendants of the gods, which is why sacred treasures like Kusanagi no Tsurugi are inseparable from the concept of imperial authority. Ancient chronicles such as the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki are filled with legends surrounding the sword, from its mythical origins to the solemn rituals of imperial succession. Across the centuries, at every imperial enthronement or major national ceremony, the presence of the sword has always affirmed the legitimacy and continuity of the royal line. One of the most well-known legends linked to Kusanagi no Tsurugi is the story of Prince Yamato Takeru, a legendary warrior from the early 1st century. In one episode, after being lured by his enemies into a field of dry grass and set upon by fire, Yamato Takeru used the sword to cut down the grass, creating a path to escape the flames. He then wielded the blade to drive back his foes and claim victory. A major turning point in the sword's story occurred in the late 12th century during one of Japan's bloodiest civil wars. According to the epic Heiki Monogatari, the naval battle of Danura in 1185 marked the end of the Taira clan. In the moment of defeat, Empress Tokiko clutched the young Emperor Antoku, along with 2 of the 3 imperial regalia, including Kusanagi no Tsurugi, and leapt into the sea. After the battle, both historical records and legend recount that the sword and the sacred jewel vanished beneath the waves. The disappearance of the sword has sparked endless speculation and debate. Some believe that after the treasures fell into the ocean, the imperial court managed to recover the sword through secret efforts, or possibly replaced it with a replica to maintain tradition. However, no conclusive evidence has ever surfaced to prove that Kusanagi no Tsurugi was truly found, only adding to the mystery surrounding its fate. The Spear of Destiny. The Spear of Destiny has long been one of the most famous and controversial relics in the history of Christianity. The story of this spear dates back to ancient Rome during the crucifixion of Jesus. A Roman soldier named Longinus used a spear to pierce Jesus' side, confirming his death. Many legends tell that Longinus was born blind, but when the blood and water from Jesus' wound fell into his eyes, he miraculously gained his sight. This event led him to abandon his old faith and become one of the earliest followers of Christianity. Over the centuries, the spear that pierced Christ's side came to represent more than just a historical artifact. It became entwined with legends of supernatural power. People believed that whoever possessed the Spear of Destiny would wield tremendous power, the ability to change the fate of nations, and even the course of world history. Emperors, generals, and rulers throughout the past have all been fascinated by the legends surrounding this spear. Napoleon Bonaparte once tried to claim it for himself. Adolf Hitler was said to be obsessed with the spear's mysterious power, convinced it would help him achieve his greatest ambitions. Even so, the Bible makes no mention of the spear after Jesus was taken down from the cross. The entire story of the Spear of Destiny has been built over generations through folklore and the imaginations of those who came after. Over time, not just one, but as many as 4 different spears have been claimed to be the true spear that pierced Christ's side. One spear was kept in the city of Rome and became linked to the power of the papacy. Another was taken to Vienna, where it became a relic treasured by kings and emperors of Austria. A third appeared in Armenia, regarded as a sacred treasure of the Eastern Orthodox Church. And during the Crusades, some warriors believed they had discovered the spear in Antioch, an ancient city in the Middle East. The spear in Rome is known as one of the oldest versions. In 570, an Italian pilgrim visiting Jerusalem recorded that on Mount Zion, there was a church housing 2 important relics, the crown of thorns and the spear that pierced Christ's side. When Jerusalem was captured by Persian forces in 615, the spear was divided in 2. The tip was sent to Constantinople and later ended up with Emperor Baldwin II, who sold it to King Louis IX of France. That tip was then mounted in a golden crown and kept in Paris until it disappeared during the French Revolution. The remaining portion of the spear was also taken to Constantinople. Later, it fell into the hands of the Ottoman Empire, and in 1492, Sultan Bayezid II presented it as a diplomatic gift to Pope Innocent VIII. By the 18th century, Pope Benedict XIV examined and authenticated the relic, deciding to keep it at the Vatican. Still, to this day, the Catholic Church has never officially confirmed its authenticity as the true holy relic. The spear in Vienna is equally famous, thanks to the many legends surrounding its supernatural powers. Some believe this spear could heal the sick, grant victory in battle, and even give its owner the ability to foresee the future. Emperors like Constantine the Great and Charlemagne were said to have owned this spear, winning great victories because of it. During the Napoleonic era, Napoleon himself tried to seize the spear from Nuremberg, but it had already been transferred to Vienna. In the 20th century, Adolf Hitler and the Nazis placed special faith in the power of this relic. When Germany annexed Austria in 1938, the Nazis sought out the spear and brought it to Nuremberg. The Spear of Antioch is tied to a different chapter of history, the First Crusade. A French warrior and mystic named Peter Bartholomew claimed that St. Andrew had shown him the location of the spear, buried beneath the floor of St. Peter's Church in Antioch. After digging, he uncovered a piece of rusted iron and declared it to be the spearhead. This event renewed the Crusaders' hope during their most desperate times. However, many doubted the authenticity of the find. To prove it, Peter Bartholomew underwent the ordeal of walking through fire, but the result was inconclusive, and he died soon after from severe burns. By the 18th century, the Roman Church officially recognized the Spear of Antioch as only a replica, not the original holy relic. The spear at Vagharshapat in Armenia is the fourth version and is especially revered in the Caucasus. According to legend, this spear was brought to Armenia by Saint Thaddeus in the 1st century AD. However, the first records mentioning the Armenian spear only appear in 1119, and the stories surrounding it became widespread from the 12th to 13th centuries. At one point, the spear was taken to Georgia to pray for deliverance from a plague, then later returned to Armenia after the region fell under Russian rule. Today, the spear is preserved at the Echmiadzin Museum, one of the most sacred and ancient sites of the Armenian Church. Though the true history of each spear remains full of gaps, every version continues to add to the allure and influence of the legend of the Spear of Destiny across the centuries. Many historians believe it is nearly impossible to determine which, if any, is the true Spear of Destiny. Even the Catholic Church and major religious organizations around the world have never officially recognized any of these relics as authentic. And so, while the truth may never be fully revealed, the Spear of Destiny remains a symbol of faith, of the eternal longing to reach beyond the possible, and of the mysteries humanity has never stopped seeking to solve. Ancient weapons in Jerusalem, ceramic grenades, and Greek fire. When archaeologists carried out excavations in Jerusalem, they uncovered numerous ancient ceramic jars buried deep underground. Most of these jars were once used to store food or everyday household items. However, a small number stood out for their unusual construction. Researchers noticed that these particular jars were made with thicker ceramic than normal. Upon closer examination, they also found traces of chemicals such as sulfur, mercury, and magnesium on the fragments of these jars. After analyzing the evidence, experts concluded that these were, in fact, ancient ceramic grenades used as weapons during medieval warfare. When thrown, these grenades would explode with a loud bang, releasing a thick cloud of smoke and sending sharp ceramic shards flying in all directions. This weapon was not only designed to cause panic, but could injure multiple people at once, especially effective against enemy troops attempting to breach the city's defensive walls. Alongside these ceramic grenades, another legendary weapon once struck fear into the hearts of Jerusalem's enemies: Greek fire. Greek fire was a unique military invention of the Byzantine Empire and became a strategic weapon in many major battles. What made Greek fire especially terrifying was its ability to burn anywhere, even on water. The formula for creating Greek fire was kept an absolute secret for centuries. only a select few Byzantine engineers and high-ranking officials ever knew how to mix the ingredients needed to produce this deadly liquid. To this day, the true recipe remains a mystery. No one knows exactly what ingredients were used or the precise methods the ancients employed to create such a powerful incendiary. Greek fire played a crucial role in many of the Byzantine military's decisive victories, particularly during the sieges of Constantinople. Time and again, Arab fleets and attacking armies were forced back from the city's walls thanks to this weapon. Greek fire helped secure the Byzantines' strategic dominance in the Mediterranean for centuries. The discovery of ancient ceramic grenades, together with the enduring legend of Greek fire, shows just how inventive ancient civilizations could be when it came to developing weapons. While these arms no longer appear on modern battlefields, they continue to remind us of the brutal eras of history, times when people would go to extraordinary lengths to defend their cities and their way of life. Wootz steel, the unbeatable sword of the East. During the battles for Jerusalem in the Middle Ages, European warriors were often left astonished by Muslim fighters wielding swords that could easily slice through the blades of Western knights. This not only shifted the balance of power on the battlefield, but also forced many European commanders to rethink the weapons they trusted for so long. That power, however, did not come from magic or any supernatural force, but from a special kind of steel known as Wootz steel. Also known as Damascus steel, Wootz became a symbol of Eastern strength for centuries. Wootz steel first appeared in ancient India. From there, it spread along trade routes to the Middle East, North Africa, and even into Europe. Eastern blacksmiths discovered that when they used this steel to forge swords, they could create weapons that were both exceptionally sharp and incredibly durable. These blades were often marked by unique flowing patterns resembling waves or clouds. Beyond their beauty, these patterns revealed a structure deep within the metal that was utterly different from the ordinary steel used by European swordsmiths. The technique for making Wootz steel was extremely complex, demanding patience and years of experience. First, the smith would select iron with a high carbon content and mix it with special woods or carbon-rich leaves. Everything was then placed inside a heat-resistant clay crucible and smelted at around 1,400 degrees Celsius for several continuous days. This process caused the iron, carbon, and other elements to combine in unique ways, resulting in a metal with a microstructure unlike any other steel. Once the crucible had cooled completely, the smith would break it open to retrieve the cakes of Wootz steel, which were then cut into smaller pieces and forged into blades or other weapons. If done correctly, each finished sword would possess exceptional hardness and an unmatched ability to hold a sharp edge, giving its wielder the confidence to face any opponent in battle. In fact, many historical records describe scenes where Muslim warriors used Wootz swords to effortlessly shatter their opponent's European blades or slice through armor and weapons in a single blow. Western knights were stunned, and at times even frightened, by the limits of their own defenses. After a battle, many tried every means possible to buy or trade for these rare swords, treating them as priceless treasures. The secrets of making Wootz steel were lost long ago, as generations of blacksmiths carefully guarded their techniques and refused to share them with outsiders. It wasn't until the 20th century that modern scientists finally had the chance to study this remarkable steel using fragments recovered from archaeological sites. When examined under a scanning electron microscope, they discovered the presence of nanocarbon structures and tiny nanowires within the Wootz steel. These structures gave the metal both extraordinary hardness and surprising flexibility, preventing the blade from shattering even on impact with something solid. Yet, despite the advances of modern technology, we still have not been able to fully replicate the quality of ancient Wootz steel. The story of Wootz steel is not only a testament to the technological achievements of the East, but also a reflection of human ingenuity and determination in the quest to create the very best tools for survival and victory. Swords forged from Wootz steel helped reshape the outcomes of great battles across the Middle East and have continued to inspire later generations in the study and development of new materials. Although the secret of Wootz steel remains unsolved, its legacy endures as an essential part of the history of human weaponry. The Sword of Pier Gerlofs, Donia. Pier Gerlofs Donia was born and raised in Friesland, a land where people lived by the fields and the sea. From a young age, Pier stood out for his towering stature and extraordinary strength. He was said to be nearly 7 feet tall, with a powerful frame and hands like iron. Local villagers would often whisper that Pier could bend a coin using just 2 fingers or lift a heavy plow with ease, needing no help from anyone. In the early 16th century, Friesland was a troubled land, torn by conflict between 2 factions, the Schieringers and the Vetkoppers. The civil war eventually ended, but resentment and hatred lingered on. By that time, Pier was a middle-aged man with a small family. Life seemed as though it would pass in quiet peace, until disaster struck in 1515. That was the year when mercenary soldiers known as the Black Band, hired by the Vetkoppers, attacked Pier's village. They murdered his wife, set his entire farm ablaze, and left a deep well of anger smoldering in the heart of a man who had once cherished peace. Pier lost everything in a single night, but he did not collapse under the weight of his sorrow. Instead, that loss transformed him into the leader of the Arumer Zwarte Hoop, a rebel group. He gathered together the oppressed and those who had suffered as he had, leading them to rise up against their occupiers. Under Pier's command, the rebels not only resisted Saxon forces, but also sought justice for the people of Friesland, whose homes and loved ones had been stolen from them. Their attacks kept the enemy in constant fear and reignited the spirit of resistance across the land. The greatest symbol forever linked to Pier's name is the enormous two-handed sword that he always carried with him. This sword measured over 2 meters in length, weighed about 7 kilograms, and dwarfed any ordinary sword of its time. Some believe the sword was forged in Germany. Others say it was a trophy taken by Pier after a major battle with the Saxons. What is certain is that the sword still exists today, preserved at the Fries Museum, where researchers have confirmed that it was indeed used by Pier on the battlefield. To many, this sword is more than just a weapon. It stands as a symbol of unbreakable resolve and the will to never yield. Years of rebellion turned Pier Gerlofs Donia into a living legend among the people of Friesland. He was not only a warrior of incredible strength, but also an inspiration to all who had known loss and hardship. Though Pier's victories could not completely alter the fate of his homeland in the face of greater powers, he fought on until the very end. The story of Pier Gerlofs Donia and his giant sword remains alive in the memory of Friesland to this day. The image of Pier, sword in hand, serves as a reminder that in every era, the strength of determination and the will to protect what is sacred always leaves an indelible mark. The Tower of Flies and the Iron Chain of Acre. In 1189, during the Third Crusade, Conrad of Montferrat led his army toward the port city of Acre. At the time, Acre was one of the most important cities on the eastern shores of the Mediterranean. Many Crusader armies from across Europe gathered here, hoping to reclaim the city from Muslim control. But as Conrad approached Acre, he immediately encountered a major problem: the city's formidable defenses, most notably the Tower of Flies. The Tower of Flies was an ancient tower standing right on the edge of the harbor. What made this tower especially dangerous was its massive iron chain. This chain stretched across the entrance to the harbor. Whenever the chain was raised, it completely blocked any ships from passing through, making any seaborne assault on the city extremely difficult. But it wasn't just the chain. The Tower of Flies itself housed archers, guards, and all kinds of siege weapons. If a ship tried to draw near, it became an easy target for arrows raining down from above. Together, the tower and its iron chain formed an effective barrier that protected Acre from surprise attacks by sea. Still, Conrad did not give up immediately. He organized repeated assaults by ship and tried to land troops on the small island where the tower stood. But the weather in this region was harsh. Strong winds and rough seas were especially common in winter, and the waters around the tower were littered with reefs. This made small boats prone to capsizing, and soldiers found it nearly impossible to reach the tower. After several failed attempts, Conrad was forced to pause his direct attacks on the tower and look for other ways to besiege the city. The origins of the Tower of Flies remain a subject of debate. Some historians believe it was built by the Phoenicians sometime between the 6th and 4th centuries BC. During the First Crusade, European armies captured Acre, rebuilt the tower, and installed the chain system to defend the harbor. But when the Muslim leader Saladin recaptured the city, these very defenses became weapons against those who had created them. The name Tower of Flies also has several explanations. According to one legend, the tower was once the site of rituals dedicated to the god Beelzebub, who was called the Lord of the Flies, thus the name. Others believe the area was once used as the city's dumping ground for trash and waste, which attracted swarms of flies around the tower. No matter where the name originated, the Tower of Flies and its iron chain truly became a nightmare for any sailor or soldier hoping to reach Acre. Anyone involved in the siege of the city knew that the sight of the iron chain stretched across the water signaled a formidable challenge ahead. The story of the Tower of Flies and the Iron Chain is not just about a tower or a defensive work. It is a lesson in how ancient civilizations leveraged geography, architecture, and engineering to protect their cities from outside threats. What remains of the Tower of Flies today still reminds us of those brutal wars and of the daunting obstacles Crusader armies had to face on their journey. The Hellburners, the first weapons of mass destruction in modern Europe. In 1585, the city of Antwerp became the focal point of one of the largest sieges in European history. This conflict took place against the backdrop of the 80 Years' War, as the Dutch struggled for independence from Spanish rule. At the time, Alexander Farnese, the Spanish governor in the Netherlands, ordered the construction of a massive floating bridge across the Scheldt River. This bridge allowed the Spanish forces to cut off all outside supplies to the city, gradually isolating Antwerp from the world. Facing an increasingly desperate situation, the people of Antwerp decided to seek help from outside the city. They turned to Federico Giambelli, an Italian engineer renowned for his weapons expertise. Giambelli proposed a bold and innovative idea. He designed special ships called Hellburners, which were packed with gunpowder and scrap metal. When detonated, each vessel would become a gigantic bomb on the water, powerful enough to shatter any barrier in its path. Two of the most famous Hellburners were named Fortune and Hope. Fortune used a traditional slow-burning fuse, while Hope was fitted with a clockwork detonation system combined with flint, marking the first time such a mechanism was used in warfare. This advancement gave commanders precise control over the timing of the explosion, maximizing the effectiveness of their attack at the critical moment. On the night of April 4th, 1585, the Hellburners were set adrift on the Scheldt. At the same time, 32 decoy fire ships were released to distract the Spanish forces. As the Hellburners neared the floating bridge, Hope detonated. The explosion was so powerful that it shook the ground for up to 80 kilometers, destroyed most of the bridge, and killed over 800 Spanish soldiers. The sheer force of the blast left not only the enemy, but also distant onlookers in shock and terror. At the time, this was considered one of the largest explosions ever witnessed in European warfare. Despite the devastating losses, the Spanish quickly rebuilt the bridge and continued to tighten their grip on Antwerp. In the end, the city eventually fell to the overwhelming strength and persistence of the invading army. However, while Antwerp was lost in a tactical sense, the introduction of the Hellburners marked the dawn of a new era in the history of warfare. These explosive ships were the forerunners of modern weapons of mass destruction. Helepolis, the conqueror of cities of Demetrius. In 305 BC, the city of Rhodes, perched on a small island in the heart of the Mediterranean, became the target of one of the most famous sieges of the ancient world. Leading the attacking army was Demetrius I Poliorcetes, known far and wide as the Besieger of Macedonia. His opponent was Ptolemy I Soter, a powerful ruler determined to keep Rhodes as an ally to maintain his influence in the region. To conquer Rhodes, Demetrius did not rely on his army alone. He brought with him an innovation that was far ahead of its time, the siege tower known as Helepolis. Helepolis was a war machine of unprecedented scale. The tower soared to a height of 40 meters, spanned 20 meters wide, weighed an estimated 160 tons, and was moved by 8 enormous wheels, each standing over 4 meters tall. Its exterior was clad in iron plates to protect against fire and attacks from within the city. Inside, engineers designed multiple levels, each equipped with broad staircases so that thousands of soldiers could move up and down. Helepolis was not just a mobile fortress, it was a city in itself, armed with 16 massive catapults and 4 powerful ballistae, capable of smashing through any defensive walls. As the campaign began, Demetrius believed Helepolis would allow him to quickly breach the defenses of Rhodes. But the people of Rhodes proved both their resolve and ingenuity. They not only reinforced their city walls, but also flooded the ground around the city, turning it into a marshy bog that halted the advance of Helepolis. The soggy earth quickly trapped the tower's wheels, rendering the massive machine useless. After numerous failed attempts, Demetrius was forced to accept defeat. He withdrew his troops and left Helepolis behind on the battlefield, a symbol of unfulfilled ambition. Legend has it that the people of Rhodes dismantled the enormous tower and sold all the iron and steel they recovered. The proceeds were then used to construct the Colossus of Rhodes, a monumental statue that became one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. While Helepolis did not bring victory to Demetrius, it left a lasting mark on military history. This incredible machine paved the way for later innovations in siege towers and inspired generations of engineers and warriors with its demonstration of intellect, ambition, and perseverance. Warwolf, the largest trebuchet of the Middle Ages. In 1304, Scotland's war for independence entered its most decisive phase as Stirling Castle became the last stronghold for the resistance against England. At that time, King Edward I of England resolved to bring all his forces to bear in order to capture this fortress. To break through the final line of defense, he ordered the construction of a gigantic siege engine called Warwolf, also known as loup de guerre. Warwolf was a marvel of medieval military engineering. The machine was built by 5 master carpenters and nearly 50 assistants over the course of 3 months. Each part of Warwolf had to be transported to the battlefield by 30 horse-drawn wagons before being assembled right at the foot of Stirling Castle. Once completed, Warwolf was capable of hurling stones weighing up to 300 pounds, 136 kilograms, hundreds of meters across the field. Its power was said to be enough to smash through thick castle walls and bring down even the sturdiest of defenses. As Warwolf neared readiness, a sense of anticipation swept through the English camp. The Scots inside Stirling Castle watched this colossal machine from afar and knew they stood no chance against its might. According to many records, the defenders decided to surrender before Warwolf could even fire a single shot, hoping to save the lives of soldiers and civilians alike. But King Edward refused to accept such an easy victory. He declined their surrender until his trebuchet had been put to use in actual battle. He wanted to witness firsthand the destructive force that had required so much effort and resources to build. Warwolf was finally unleashed, and its first stone smashed through a section of Stirling's walls. In later years, Warwolf would be remembered as the largest and most famous trebuchet in medieval history. Basilica, the giant cannon of the Ottoman Empire. In the mid-15th century, the city of Constantinople stood as the final fortress of the Byzantine Empire, a city long regarded as the heart of the Eastern world. This city was famed for its massive walls and formidable defenses, which had forced many invading armies to halt before its gates. However, in 1453, a Hungarian engineer named Orban approached Emperor Constantine V's Palaiologos with a bold proposal to build a giant cannon to defend the city. Although the idea was daring, Constantine was forced to decline, as the treasury was empty and there were not enough resources to undertake such a project. Undeterred, Orban continued his search and made his way to the Ottoman Empire, where Sultan Mehmed II was preparing for a monumental campaign to capture Constantinople. Mehmed II immediately saw the potential of such a weapon and agreed to sponsor Orban, providing him with every resource needed to bring the cannon to life. After months of work, the Basilica was born, an enormous cannon measuring 8.2 meters in length with a barrel diameter of 76 centimeters and weighing 20 tons. This cannon could fire stone or iron projectiles weighing up to 1,500 pounds, 680 kilograms. And could reach targets more than 2.4 kilometers away, something no weapon of the time had ever achieved. Transporting the basilica to the battlefield was an engineering feat in itself. 60 oxen and 400 men were required to haul the massive cannon to the gates of Constantinople. At the same time, Mehmed II assembled more than 100 smaller cannons and a fleet of 110 warships to put maximum pressure on the city. On the morning of April 24, 1453, Basilica fired its first shot. A giant projectile tore through the city walls, opening a path for the Ottoman army to advance. After 6 relentless weeks of bombardment, the walls of Constantinople finally collapsed. The Ottoman forces poured into the city, bringing an end to an era that had lasted for more than 1,000 years. Mehmed II entered the history books as the conqueror, and Basilica became a symbol of the Ottoman Empire's military power, recognized as the largest cannon ever effectively used in warfare. If you enjoy these strange and fascinating stories, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below about what piqued your curiosity the most. Make sure to follow along for more journeys. There are still so many mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Thank you for watching.